When you think about studying a foreign language, you usually picture these incredibly dry, almost artificial scenarios.
Oh, totally. The classic classroom setting.
Right. You're sitting there just repeating phrases like, where's the library? Or the apple is red.
Yeah, the real thrilling stuff.
Exactly. You are essentially stripping human communication down to its absolute bare bones, right to the studs, really, just to see how the grammar actually works.
Right, because you have to remove all the nuance, you remove all the messiness of real life, so the raw mechanics of the language are completely visible. I always say it's like an X-ray of human interaction.
An X-ray, I like that. But what happens when that X-ray is pointed at something as complex as how we structure our daily lives?
Well, that gets really interesting.
It does. And that is actually the mission of our deep dive today. We're looking at an excerpt from an English language learning program called Rhythms of Routine, Mastering Daily English Vocabulary.
Which, honestly, is a fascinating source.
It really is. So it features these two characters, right? There's Daniel, who's a working professional, and Jennifer, who's a student. And they're basically just talking about their days.
Just standard, everyday stuff.
Yeah. And they're joined by this vocabulary expert named Krystal, who kind of drops in to highlight specific phrases.
Right, and on the surface, I mean, this is just a very straightforward educational tool for non-native speakers. It's explicitly designed to teach basic vocabulary.
And this is the crazy part, in the process of stripping down the English language to teach it, this source inadvertently provides, like, a masterclass in life organization.
It really does. By breaking down the literal vocabulary of a daily routine, it ends up revealing this hidden architecture of a perfectly balanced day.
Exactly. So whether you, our listener, are, say, a high-level executive trying to manage a team, or just a student trying to survive finals, mastering the rhythm of your day is kind of the ultimate life hack.
Oh, 100%.
So we're just going to jump straight into this material. We're going chronologically, starting with the launch sequence, the morning setup.
Yeah, because every successful day requires a deliberate launch, right? And in our source text, we see two slightly different approaches based on their lifestyles.
Right, the professional versus the student.
Exactly. So Daniel, the professional, he's up at 6:30 a.m. because his job requires an early start, whereas Jennifer, the student, she wakes up a bit later at 7 a.m.
But you know what's so striking about this text isn't just the specific wake-up time, it's the immediate, deliberate physical actions they take.
Yes, the intentionality is huge here.
Right. They don't just roll out of bed, blindly grab their phones, and stumble into the day. The text actually highlights that Jennifer takes a moment, while she's literally still in bed, to explicitly stretch and breathe.
Yeah, to help her feel more alert.
Exactly. The text calls it a gentle way to start the day. And then Daniel, the very first thing he does is drink a large glass of water. And then both of them immediately prioritize brushing their teeth and washing their faces.
And Daniel specifically notes that this hygiene routine sets the tone for the day ahead.
It's all about the tone.
Right. And then, of course, there is the fuel. Neither of them skips breakfast, but, and this is key, neither of them eats a heavy, lethargic meal either.
No giant stacks of pancakes.
No, exactly. They both opt for what the text explicitly calls a light breakfast. For Jennifer, that's just oatmeal or toast to get her energy up before classes. And Daniel goes for eggs with toast, or, sometimes he mixes it up with a smoothie.
Okay, so once the body is taken care of, they immediately transition to the mind. Like right after breakfast, Daniel checks his emails and reviews his to-do list to see what's on the agenda. And Jennifer checks her class schedule to make sure she's ready.
And this is where Krystal, the vocabulary expert in the text, steps in. She highlights very specific terms here.
Right. She zeroes in on some key words.
She isolates the word hydrate, which Daniel does with his morning water, and the phrase to-do list. Now, in the context of learning English, these are just basic nouns and verbs.
Right. Just words to memorize.
But if we look closely at the psychology of what is actually happening, these aren't just actions, they are psychological tools. I mean, think about the feeling Jennifer and Daniel are describing. The text says it's about feeling calm and having an organized start.
Yeah. It's like a pilot running through a pre-flight checklist.
Ah, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. You don't just jump into a massive Boeing 747, fire up the jet engines and blindly hit the gas. You sit in the cockpit while it's still quiet. You check the dials. You test the flaps.
You do the prep work.
Exactly. You hydrate. You review the flight path, which is basically your to-do list.
Yeah.
You're running through this rigid physical and mental sequence that essentially tells your brain, Okay, we are preparing for takeoff.
Yes. When you drink that glass of water to hydrate, or when you check that to-do list, you are claiming the first hour of the day for yourself. You're doing it before the external demands of the world begin dictating your attention.
But wait, I have to ask you, is this meticulous morning routine actually generating literal productivity, or is it just like a psychological trick?
What do you mean?
Well, are we just creating this calm, false sense of control before the inevitable chaos of the day hits? Because, I mean, no matter how much oatmeal you eat or how much you review your schedule, the day is probably going to throw a wrench in your plans.
Oh, guaranteed.
Right. A client is going to yell at you, a tire's going to go flat. So does the morning routine actually do anything?
That's a great pushback, and the source text actually strongly implies that it is largely psychological, but that the psychology is exactly what makes it effective.
Okay, how so?
The goal isn't to predict or prevent every single obstacle the day will throw at you, right? The goal is to fortify your baseline mindset. When you review a to-do list, you are offloading cognitive weight.
Oh, getting it out of your head.
Exactly. Human brains are frankly terrible at holding multiple uncompleted tasks in our working memory. It generates this low-grade, constant hum of anxiety.
Yeah, that background stress.
Right. So by checking the list, you aren't eliminating the chaos of the world. You are clearing your internal cognitive load. You are proving to yourself, I am an organized person who is ready. It's basically an act of self-persuasion.
Wow. So you are systematically lowering your cortisol levels before you even open the front door.
Exactly.
But that morning armor has a very short shelf life.
Yeah.
The moment you step out into the world, the erosion begins.
Oh, yeah. The real world hits hard.
It does. And by the time noon hits, the strategy has to shift entirely from intention to pure endurance. The afternoon battle.
The afternoon is definitely the ultimate stress test of the routine. In the text, both Jennifer and Daniel agree that the afternoon is the busiest part of their day.
It's the peak zone.
Right. Jennifer has her most focused study sessions and her most difficult classes. Daniel is dealing with a whole barrage of meetings and intensive project work.
So their habits have to dramatically shift to accommodate this high demand period. Let's look at their strict lunch habits, for instance.
Yeah, this is super important.
The source specifically points out that lunch happens right around noon, and Jennifer eats something light, like a salad or a sandwich. She explicitly states she doesn't like to eat anything too heavy because it makes her feel, quote, sluggish.
And Daniel takes the exact same approach. His go-to is a quinoa salad with veggies or a turkey sandwich. He says keeping it healthy helps him avoid the mid-afternoon energy slump.
The dreaded slump.
Exactly. And they also share this very specific, almost mandatory strategy of taking short breaks. Even during really long, intense study sessions or back-to-back project work, they physically step away from the desk.
They don't just power through.
No. They stretch, they get a snack. They do this to keep the mind fresh, as Jennifer puts it.
Which makes perfect biological sense. It's exactly like putting fuel in a high-performance race car.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you put heavy, unrefined, low-grade fuel, like a massive greasy burger and fries, into a Formula One car in the exact middle of a race, it's going to stall out.
You're going to crash.
Right. Digestion requires an immense amount of physical energy. If your body is frantically pulling blood flow down to your stomach to process a heavy meal, it is literally pulling resources away from your brain.
Yeah, you guarantee an energy slump.
You have to keep the fuel light to keep the cognitive engine running hot.
And Krystal's vocabulary breakdown for this section is incredibly revealing. In the morning, the words she highlighted were gentle and expansive, right? Stretch, hydrate, light breakfast.
Very calming.
But the afternoon vocabulary abruptly changes. She highlights words like sluggish, recharge, regroup, and energy slump.
It's defensive. You're fending off an attack.
Yes, and it culminates in this very specific, highly informal phrase Daniel uses to describe how he tackles his bigger assignments after lunch.
Oh, the boxing one.
Yeah, he says he tries to knock them out while he's still feeling productive. The language becomes literally combative. Knockout. You are in a boxing match with your own responsibilities.
But wait. If the whole point of stepping away from the desk and stretching is to keep the mind fresh and gently recharge, why is the language suddenly so aggressive and combative?
That's the paradox.
Right. How do we reconcile the delicate need to recharge with this intense pressure to aggressively knock out our work? Are these concepts completely at war with each other in the text?
Well, if we look at the reality of modern productivity, they do seem fundamentally at odds. We are treating ourselves as fragile biological organisms that need to be gently nurtured, fed light salads, and recharged, right?
Right.
But simultaneously, we're expecting ourselves to function as these ruthless, high-output machines that just knock out tasks on an assembly line.
Seriously, am I a delicate biological system that needs a walk around the block? Or am I a heavyweight champion throwing punches at a spreadsheet?
The text actually suggests you have to be both, and that you cannot have one without the other.
Okay, break that down.
The aggressive productivity of knocking out work is only made mathematically possible by the defensive strategy of regrouping. The breaks aren't a retreat from the battle. They are the reloading phase.
Oh, wow.
When Daniel says he knocks out key projects while he's still feeling productive, he is openly acknowledging that productivity is a finite, rapidly depleting resource. Decision fatigue sets in. Executive function drains like a battery.
So the gentle recharge is a mechanical requirement to sustain the combative knockout.
Precisely.
You are managing a depleting battery. And once you've fought through that afternoon slump and you've knocked out as much work as possible, the battery's eventually going to hit zero.
It has to.
You can't just crash land the plane. The engine has to cool down.
Which brings us to the evening. The day must end, and the transition from energy management to active decompression is absolutely critical. The evening descent is entirely about ensuring that the next day can happen successfully.
And the text gives us a very clear blueprint for how Daniel and Jennifer land the plane. Dinner happens around 7:00 p.m. They keep it quick and satisfying. Jennifer opts for meals like pasta with vegetables or a rice bowl. Daniel goes for grilled salmon with veggies or a stir fry with rice.
But the food is just the precursor to the psychological work of the evening, which is active de-stressing.
Right, it's not just about eating.
Exactly. They engage in very specific activities to manually lower their heart rates. Jennifer takes a short walk or does some light stretching. Daniel listens to music, or he also goes for a walk.
And as the evening progresses, Jennifer specifically notes that she avoids screens before bed. No phone, no laptop.
That is so hard to do.
It really is. She opts instead to spend time reading or listening to music. Daniel drinks a cup of herbal tea, which Krystal notes is a caffeine-free relaxant. And their bedtimes are remarkably, almost surgically consistent.
Very rigid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer aims for 10:00 p.m. Daniel sticks to 10:30 p.m., noting how much better he feels the next day with a full, uninterrupted night's sleep.
And again, Krystal highlights the vocabulary of the evening, pointing to the words unwind and wind down. Both of these imply a deliberate, gradual release of mechanical tension. But the focal point of the entire evening routine is a very specific metaphor Daniel introduces.
The reset button.
The reset button. Daniel says that washing his face and brushing his teeth after dinner feels like pressing a reset button. It's a simple way to consciously shift his mind into relaxation mode.
Which is brilliant.
And what's fascinating from a psychological standpoint is that he's taking the exact same physical actions from the morning routine, brushing teeth, washing face, but the psychological utility has completely flipped.
Oh, that's true.
In the morning, those actions were the launch button. Now they're the reset button.
It's the exact same hardware, but it's running a totally different software program.
I love that.
It's exactly like when your computer's been running all day. You've got like 40 tabs open in your browser. You've got 3 different applications running. The fan is spinning incredibly loud. The memory is maxed out and everything starts getting sluggish and glitchy.
We've all been there.
Right. And you don't try to go in and fix the individual glitches. You don't try to manually close every single tab. You just hit restart. You clear the RAM.
You wipe the slate clean.
Exactly. You completely wipe the temporary memory so the machine can start fresh. That's what washing your face and brushing your teeth does for your brain at 9:00 p.m. It force quits all the background tabs of your day.
It acts as a profound state-dependent cue. It basically signals to the brain that the workday is officially over, physically shifting the autonomic nervous system from the active sympathetic fight-or-flight mode into the passive parasympathetic rest and digest mode.
But look at Jennifer and Daniel. It's perfectly choreographed. The grilled salmon, the caffeine-free herbal tea, the complete banishment of glowing screens, the light stretching. I have to ask, does the listener actually need to copy these exact rigid behaviors to be successful?
That's a common question.
Like, do you have to drink herbal tea and throw your phone in a drawer to successfully wind down? Or is the text subtly hinting that the consistency of the bedtime itself, hitting 10:00 p.m. every single night, is the actual mechanism, regardless of how you get there?
Well, this touches on the core mechanism of behavioral conditioning. The specific actions in the text, the herbal tea, the reading, are highly effective because they physiologically support the body's natural circadian rhythms.
Right, they aren't fighting your body.
Exactly. They don't emit blue light, which suppresses melatonin,
Wow.
and they don't introduce stimulants into the bloodstream. However, the true power of a routine lies in the neurological pathways it carves out over time.
The repetition.
Yes. If you do the exact same sequence of events every single night at 10:00 p.m., your brain maps that sequence to the onset of sleep. The consistency is the neurological anchor.
So the habit is what matters.
Right. You could theoretically have a completely different routine, but if it lacks strict consistency, the brain won't recognize it. It won't act as a reliable automatic reset button.
Wow. So as we pull back and look at this whole text, from the 6:30 a.m. alarm through the afternoon slump, all the way to the 10:30 p.m. bedtime, we have to synthesize what this English learning tape is actually revealing about human life.
And the overarching message is unmistakable. A successful daily routine isn't merely a vehicle for relentless maximized productivity.
It's not just about getting more done.
No, it is fundamentally about creating balance. It is a biological necessity. It is about taking care of yourself and finding a rhythm that prevents catastrophic burnout. You literally cannot sustain the knockout productivity without the deliberate protective unwind.
It's the rhythm of routine. It's right there, the title of the source. And, we want you, the listener, to audit your own day based on this x-ray we've just looked at.
Take a hard look at your habits.
Yeah. Look at your own habits. Do you have a clear launch sequence? A moment where you intentionally clear your cognitive load and set the tone before the world intrudes? Are you fueling yourself properly at lunch, or are you putting heavy, unrefined fuel in your engine and stalling out in the afternoon?
And the evening, too.
Exactly. Perhaps most importantly, do you have a reliable reset button in the evening? A clear, consistent signal to your brain that clears the RAM and tells your nervous system the day is actually done.
Examining your own habits through this stripped-down analytical lens is an incredibly powerful exercise because the vocabulary you use to conceptualize your day often dictates the reality of how you experience it.
Yeah. Think about the specific language the text uses to teach everyday English. We have to recharge ourselves. We have to knock out our work. We have to find a reset button at the end of the day.
It is highly mechanistic language. Batteries, boxing rings, and computer hardware.
Which leaves me wondering, if we have to intentionally design these complex, rigid routines and rely on mechanistic metaphors just to survive, just to manually reset our nervous systems from our daily lives so we can wake up and do it all again tomorrow, are our modern schedules fundamentally at odds with how human beings are actually meant to live?